Quick drama update. Everything still sucks, and it's keeping me away from a lot of the things I'd really like to be doing for you guys, but it is taking priority right now. It is kind of important. So, for now, we are sticking to the little things, because I do want to keep content coming. Just because things went wrong here does not mean you guys should be without things to watch on this channel. So, we're going to roll along with some of the more simple toys that I normally overlook when I'm looking for random review subjects. This is Beast Wars Airazor, which is a toy with an interesting little history to it. This was never meant to be a female character. The producers of the show wanted more of a female presence in the series and decided, well, that toy looks mostly female, so give us that one. And thus Airazor was re-identified as female, unless you live in Japan, where the toy and the character is still male. Yes, with the same storyline, it got weird. And then the manga changed things again. It got weirder. But for now, we're going to focus on American canon and this particular version of the figure. As you can see, it is a falcon of indiscernible species, but definitely a nice looking predatory bird with a nice shiny brown plastic to it. Now, brown metallic plastic does cause Beast Wars fans a little bit of worry, because we all know what happens to Megatrons, and my Silverbolt, as part of the Magnaboss set, actually broke on me because of shiny brown plastic. But hey, this seems to be holding up fairly well so far, so whatever. We'll be ginger with it, though. We'll gingerly hell, and very nice, very, very gentle touch. Look at all the detailing. One thing Beast Wars did really well was getting in a ton of natural little details all the way through the organic parts of their figures. Look at all these little tiny groove lines to make sure these all look like feathers. It's an incredibly well done job. Really like it. And I like all these extra little details to give a more natural look. These lines of paint, which can also be seen on the tail, which is also nicely molded. So all of that works exceptionally well. We get to the head, where the feather detailing across the top goes away, and we get some along the sides, as well as the eyes and the yellow going all the way around the eye and into the beak. It's interesting because the beak and this inner yellow plastic are some of the best color matching I've ever seen on a paint job for a Transformer, and it wasn't even necessary for them to do it. It has absolutely no point. It doesn't blend in. It's nothing. It just matches. So that's kind of an amusing thing for me. Down here we have the legs, which this is where we get to some of the more exposed robot parts. Since it is a basic, there's really not a whole lot they could have done with it at this size scale. But the claws are completely included. The talons are molded in. You get a little bit of natural shape to it. Bit of robot mode foot in the back, but hey, it's what it is. So from this angle, this is a really nice looking beast mode. That's really good. And then we get to that angle where I'm not quite sure falcons are molded that way. But hey, like I said, simple figure. You do have to give it a little bit of a grading on a curve there. I will say one thing about it is that thanks to all the ball jointing, you can maneuver these into a more natural position for mid-flight and whatnot, but not an intended feature, just something you can do. So that's always a good thing. As far as intended features go, well, for starters, we do have a beak that opens up, which is very simple, and it doesn't open very far. So it's I don't know, little bit of a pointless detail, but why not? However, this has a little bit more credence to it. Flip out blades for the wings. This is a neat thing because on a modern toy, they'd probably just like include this and just go, oh hey, yeah, you've got blades that come out of the wings. But back then, they went to the extra effort of painting in all the inner details as well as the blade itself. So it does look like there is some kind of weapon mode going on here. You can see all these nice mechanical details in the wings too. It looks really, really cool. And then we have an actual gimmick feature because Beast Wars Basics usually had a spring-loaded gimmick. These two yellow feathers in the back are on a bit of a gear and spring system where pulling them out makes them close together. It kind of creates this claw clamping thing with the blades, which is kind of a neat thing, but hey, it also just makes the wings flap, which again, from this angle looks good, but then you realize, hey, it doesn't really work because it's not going up and down like an actual beast. But hey, it's a neat little function. It's one of those unintrusive and generally inoffensive gimmicks that generally just make it a nice figure. For articulation, yeah, you have hinge and ball joints here, so you can actually position the legs, since they are the robot mode legs, easy enough. These wings do actually go in and out. The tail does lift up, so you have that. And these wings are on these big hinges that let them raise up and give it a more natural look of a mid-flight. This is about as far as I'm going to take that bend, because it can go much, much higher, but hey, I'm not going to risk metallic plastic like that. So let's get it transformed, and this will be quick because there's not a whole lot to transform here. So we've raised the tail up, bunch of mechanical detail there, and then we can remove the weapon, set that aside, fold the wings in, legs straighten out, we can rotate them around, and that is their robot mode position. Straighten out this way. Nothing really pegs in here. You just kind of tuck the arms in back there to hide them away in this mode. Fold that down. Get the shoulder guards up and point the arms forward so it looks like actual arms. And then just bring the head down and form up the torso with it. And that is Airazor in robot mode. A very quick and simple transformation which you'd expect from the size class. And nothing auto-load, like only the first few waves of these Beast Wars basics had spring-loaded transformations. Anything later and then into the Fusors and such, it was all manual. So this was one of the first manual ones, and I kind of appreciate that a little bit more. Looking at the head, you can kind of see why they went with this as the potential female character. No real features of any masculine or feminine shape. So it does kind of work. That mouth plate look actually kind of lent itself to recasting it as a different gender. But hey, it still works, and it vaguely resembles Airazor. They took some more liberties in the show, of course, but hey, it doesn't look bad here either. The overall proportions have a really nice look to them. It's actually fairly heroic in appearance with the outward shoulder guards and the big wings spanning on the back. It's a really, really nice look. You know, for such a small figure, I really dig the silhouette this thing has going on. We do have some new details. You can now see, we didn't see the back of the legs, so looking at them now, there's a little bit of a musculature look to them. A little bit organic, but a little bit techno-organic before techno-organic was a thing, I guess. Best way I can put it. Some mechanical details in some of the new sections, like the arms have little lines and moldings, and you can see little hoses and cables and such, just to give it a little bit more of a machine vibe here and there. But still, for the most part, it's mostly just the underside of the wings and some of the beast mode parts newly exposed. Not a whole lot new showing, but it works. I think it works out just well enough. And the amount of yellow that's now exposed, I think, really helps change it up well enough to really cast it as a different look. So, you don't really have any features in this mode. You can still use little things, but I guess in this mode, it kind of makes a little bit more sense for the wing flaps to go up and down. You do have the rub sign in the back, which should still work. Though the rub signs just never worked as good as they did in G1, because G1, they started black and you had to rub them in order to see what side they were really on. And here, they just kind of start off one color and they change to a different color. The symbols never really disguised very much. Okay, so for this size, what are we looking at for articulation? Because this was the era of the ball joint. We have the full hang on, rebooting TJOmega.exe. Okay. We have a full ball-jointed neck, which can also head bob for some reason. Can't go up, backward, but can go down. Full ball-jointed shoulders, which is always a nice thing for me to have, and because this folds down, it helps. It doesn't obstruct too much. Ball joints in the elbows, so those can rotate and bend at the 90 degree. No waist. Ball-jointed hips, which all work nicely. There's a weird, little shape to the side of the leg because of how all these parts are bent together for robot mode. See, which can be straightened out. Gonna be honest, never knew that. Oh well. Because it's always just like, this is what it looks like straight. Oh well, whatever. So yeah, you have that. Though it's really just for transformation. Ball joints on the knees, and the only thing that is not ball jointed is the rock at the ankle. But other than that, everything on a ball joint, which means nice articulation for such a small size. And then there's this little tiny claw. It literally looks like she pulled the foot off of a chicken and she's going to use it as a weapon of some kind. What's interesting is that you'll notice 2 pegs on it. So, while I believe we can hold this like a traditional weapon and actually have it like a blaster, yes we can, which kind of works. We can also mount it to these 2 pegs on the underside of the forearm, which gives us more of a underslung claw look, which gives it more of a unique vibe, and I kind of prefer it this way. It's because it's not a typical way for a Transformer to be holding a weapon. So it gives it a little bit more distinction, a little bit more personality. More of a clawed tonfa, I guess. But that's about it for this one. That is Airazor, the original version from Beast Wars in the Basic Class series. I'm quite a fan of the toy. It's a nice little figure. Now, of course, because it was repurposed as a female character for the show, it does not completely look like her, because none of the characters in the show really looked like their toys until Transmetal came around. But I do think it accomplishes its job, and the show model's close enough to make this passing example. Hey, I grew up with G1 Ironhide, okay? If you want to talk animation inaccuracy. But as a toy itself, it does a great job. You know, there's really not a whole lot to complain here. As Beast Wars basics go, she's flying high. God, I didn't want to end on a pun of any kind. Ugh, I am sorry.